The hum of the office was background static when my phone lit up. A single text, short and sharp, cut through the rhythm of my day. Just emptied the account. I'm leaving you. Good luck surviving. For a moment, I thought it was a prank, one of those cruel jokes group chats toss around. But the name at the top of the screen wasn't some coworker. It was Qley. My wife. 6 years together. 3 rings on her finger. 1,000 tiny promises layered into our lives. My throat dried as I read the words again, slower this time, like maybe I'd misread them. I hadn't. Around me, keyboards clattered. Phones rang. The ordinary grind of a Thursday afternoon carried on as if nothing had shifted. But inside my chest, the floor gave way. I tried to picture her, probably packing a suitcase, rehearsing a future where I didn't exist. She'd always said I lacked ambition, that my job was safe but small, that she wanted more. Now she was proving it. I stared at the glowing screen. Not a call. Not a conversation. Just a text that cleaved our life in two. When I finally moved, it wasn't to reply. It was to open the banking app. I tapped in the password with mechanical precision, each keystroke echoing like a countdown. Balance $0. The breath left me in a soundless laugh. Cold, not amused. Empty but sharp. Qley thought she had buried me with one click. Instead, she just pulled the pin from her own grenade. Because here's what she never understood: the joint account she drained wasn't a joint account at all. She had built it, managed it, insisted on it. And she never noticed the fine print. I didn't type back right away. I sat at my desk, fluorescent light buzzing overhead, the taste of metal in my mouth. The first crack of something darker spread through me, not grief, not yet. When my thumb finally pressed send, my reply was as short as hers. You too. The message should have broken me. That was Qley's intention. She wanted me frantic, humiliated, scrambling to survive without her. But the strange part was the calm that settled in instead. A slow, steady awareness: she'd made a mistake. Qley had always loved control. From the very beginning, she volunteered to handle the money. I work at a bank, she'd said with that proud tilt of her chin. I know the tricks. Leave it to me. I was 27 then, hopeless with budgets, eager to believe competence was love. So I nodded, transferred my share each month, and let her build the foundation of our life. Except she hadn't built a foundation. She'd built a trap, only she was the one now caught inside it. 8 months earlier, a curious line item on a statement caught my eye. Terms I didn't recognize, language that sounded nothing like a checking account. I'd done some digging, a call to the bank under the guise of confusion. The truth hit me like cold water: I wasn't a co-owner. I wasn't even liable. I was just an authorized user on a business line of credit, a relic of Qley's failed consulting dream. Every cent she withdrew belonged to her debt, not mine. I hadn't told her. What good would it have done? She laughed at my financial illiteracy, often enough. Better to keep quiet, open my own account, start an emergency fund in secret. Part of me had even pitied her arrogance. Until now. Back at my desk, her words still glowed across the screen. Good luck surviving. I could almost hear her voice, sweetened with triumph, like she'd finally proven I was the dead weight. But in truth, she just signed her own ruin. The phone buzzed again, her name flashing, a call this time. I let it ring out. Another call, then another, unknown numbers, one after the other. The rhythm turned desperate. She must have checked her balance by now. Must have realized the debt wasn't mine. I closed my banking app and leaned back in my chair. Around me, the office still hummed, oblivious. But I knew something important: Qley hadn't left me standing in ruins. She'd walked herself into a storm. And I didn't plan on pulling her out. The first 70 minutes after her text felt almost unreal, like I was sitting in a theater watching someone else's disaster unfold. Then the storm broke. My phone lit up with her name again. Declined. 2 minutes later. Unknown caller. Declined. Another. Declined? Then the texts began. What did you do? The bank says I owe them money? This is your debt too. Answer me, Theo. I stared at the screen, heart hammering but not with fear, with something darker. Vindication. After years of being belittled for playing it safe, for being small, she was finally staring into the mirror of her own choices. Still, beneath the rush of satisfaction, a flicker of conflict sparked. We'd shared a life. Late-night ramen in our first apartment. Laughing about broken furniture we couldn't afford to replace. Promises whispered in half-sleep. Was I really about to watch her drown without throwing a rope? The next buzz snapped the thought in half. A voice I hadn't heard in years filled my ear. Theo? It's Meredith. Qley's sister. I'd always liked her, level-headed kind. The kind of person Qley pretended to be when she wanted something. She's hysterical, Meredith said. Screaming that the bank is after her, that you tricked her. What's happening? I hesitated, the weight of truth heavy in my chest. Then I laid it out, piece by piece. The business line of credit, Qley's withdrawal, her liability. Silence stretched on the other end. So, she stole from herself? Meredith finally said. Not stole, I corrected. Borrowed. At 25% interest. Her sigh was half disbelief, half exhaustion. Theo, she's been seeing someone. Blake. Some crypto guy. I think she thought she was going to cash out of this marriage like it was a jackpot. The words cut sharper than I expected. I'd suspected, sure. But hearing it said out loud twisted something inside me. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was flesh and blood. Meredith's voice softened. She needs help, Theo. I looked around the office. Rows of gray cubicles, people tapping away at keyboards, all of them blissfully unaware of the implosion in my pocket. No, I said quietly. She needs consequences. And for the first time since her text, I felt the ground under my feet steady. The first letter arrived a week later, slid under my apartment door in a cheap envelope stamped with the name of a law office I didn't recognize. Inside, a demand for half of the $80,000. As marital debt, it read. Qley's signature scrawled at the bottom like an accusation. I dropped it on the counter, my pulse steady. I'd already hired my own lawyer. His reply was a single page, authorized user, not co-signer. Debt predates marriage. Not liable. Clinical, final. That should have been the end of it. But Qley didn't want an ending. She wanted a stage. Her father showed up next. The doorman called to warn me. Says it's urgent. From the lobby I heard his voice rising, booming words like honor and man-to-man. Security guided him out while he shouted that I'd regret humiliating his daughter. I closed the blinds and sat in the dim light of my apartment, trying to breathe. Then came the calls at work. My manager pulled me into his office one afternoon, face tense. Theo, your wife's been contacting HR, says you stole from her. Says you're dangerous. The room spun for a second. My career, the one thing I'd built carefully, brick by brick, dangled on the edge of her desperation. She's lying, I said, voice sharper than I intended. Then I opened my folder. Every screenshot. Every voicemail. Every text. Including the one where Qley had promised to make up whatever I need to until they fire you. My manager leaned back, eyes narrowing. We'll handle it. But when I walked out, the adrenaline didn't fade. Because I realized she wasn't just trying to ruin me financially anymore. She was trying to erase me. That night I sat alone, staring at the city lights through the window. Anger burned hot, but underneath it, grief pressed down like a stone. This was the woman I'd once believed in. The one I'd trusted with my life. Now she was dismantling everything with a fury that felt endless. For the first time, I wondered if this battle would leave me intact. And for the first time, I admitted, I wasn't just fighting Qley. I was fighting the part of me that still remembered loving her. The courtroom smelled faintly of old paper and disinfectant. I sat at the petitioner's table, hands folded, heart drumming against my ribs. Across from me, Qley swept in late, designer sunglasses perched on her head like armor. She didn't look at me, not once. The judge asked her to state her case. Qley rose, voice trembling with practiced fragility. He tricked me, Your Honor. My husband hid the truth about our finances. He left me with crushing debt while he lived comfortably. I deserve alimony. I deserve fairness. Her words hung in the air, thin but insistent, like spider silk. For a moment I almost pitied her. Then the judge lifted a file, flipped through pages, and the silk snapped. Mrs. Davidson, you withdrew $80,000 from a line of credit in your own name. You admitted in writing that you emptied the account to leave your husband. You also quit your job 2 weeks later. Why should he be responsible for choices you made? The color drained from her face. Because he knew. He knew what would happen. And did he force you to open the account? No. Did he force you to withdraw the money? No, but... The gavel cracked once, a sound that seemed to reverberate through my chest. Ignorance of your own financial instruments is not your ex-husband's responsibility. There will be no alimony. In fact, Mrs. Davidson, you are responsible for repayment of the debt, as well as his legal fees. The silence afterward was cavernous. Qley sat frozen, lips parted, like she hadn't considered this outcome possible. Her lawyer stared at the floor. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Not joy. Not triumph. Just release, raw and quiet. Then Qley turned, finally meeting my eyes. And in them I saw not love, not even hate, but disbelief. As if she couldn't fathom a world where her story ended with her carrying the weight alone. For a heartbeat, guilt flickered. This was the woman I'd once dreamed with, once defended, once chosen. But it passed. Because choices had consequences. And Qley had written hers in bold ink. When the judge dismissed us, I didn't look back. The gavel had done what I couldn't, cut the last thread between us. The weeks after the hearing felt strangely hollow, like stepping out of a storm into a room where everything is still vibrating. No more calls, no more letters, no more shouting voices at my door. Just quiet. News of Qley's spiral reached me in fragments. Meredith called once, voice heavy with shame. She's back at our parents' house. The bank's circling. Blake's gone. She won't admit what she did, says you orchestrated it all. I listened, thanked her, and hung up. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. But sometimes the silence betrayed me. Nights stretched long. I'd catch myself remembering the early years, her laughter echoing in our tiny apartment, the way we once shared cheap takeout as if it were a feast. It hurt to realize those memories were real, and yet they belonged to a stranger. One evening, walking home from work, I passed the storefront window and saw my reflection against the city's neon blur. For the first time in months, I didn't look hunted. I looked alive. A message reached me through a mutual friend not long after. Qley wanted to talk. She'd learned her lesson. She wanted to start over. I stared at the words, my chest tightening. Somewhere deep inside, the version of me who once loved her stirred, fragile and aching. But then I remembered the first text. Good luck surviving. The smirk hidden inside it. The intent to leave me ruined. I gave my answer in 4 words, passed back through the friend. Tell her you, too. And with that, something shifted. The grief didn't vanish, but it loosened its grip. She could keep her chaos, her endless hunger for more. I no longer had to carry it. Now my days are quieter. My job remains, my savings intact, my life mine again. I've started climbing at the gym with a woman named Jade, someone who laughs without cruelty, who pays her own way. Sometimes I think about Qley, buried under the weight of her own choices, clawing at the wall she built. Maybe she still whispers that I ruined her. Maybe she believes it. But as the city hums outside my window, I know the truth. I didn't destroy her. She destroyed herself. And in the ashes, I learned how to begin again. Friends, what kind of story should come next? A little romantic, a bit thrilling, or something else? Share your choice in the comments, And don't forget to mention your city. Your support is our real strength.